My name is Jim Millard, and this is my 14th year working with Shoulder to Shoulder. I've been a course instructor at about half a dozen sites for them. And I teach at Waynflete School in Portland, Maine, which is where I first heard our speaker today talk. I knew from that talk that I needed to get to know this person. I needed to find out what she had figured out, and I needed to learn from her. Most of us see through the glass darkly, as the saying goes, but Dr. K seems to have found a way to see more clearly, to see past the darkness, and to have created a vision that is different from most of us. And I've been fortunate enough to achieve my goal of connection with Dr. K by leading the Shoulder to Shoulder course in Kenya for the last several years. And I believe I've kind of learned what it is about her that makes her so impactful and so remarkable, and it's integrity. Yeah, the standard kind of being a good citizen and an upstanding person. But more broadly, on a bigger, more metaphorical level, it's the wholeness of everything about what she does, about her conception of what IPI is and her dedication to manifest it into reality. Dr. K has integrated her vision of humanity with the wisdom of stories and the patience to nurture her plans like treasured seeds until they bloom and produce abundantly. It's my great pleasure and privilege to introduce to you a woman who has been an inspiration and a mentor, and whom I'm deeply grateful to call a friend, Dr. Karamba Ringera.
Thank you so much, Jim. Good morning. I'm going to teach you how to greet in Kiswahili so that if you don't remember anything else about what I share with you this morning, at least you remember how to greet in Kiswahili. So when I say habari yako, that is how are you, you will answer mzuri sana. Like Missouri, mzuri, mzuri sana. So habari yako. So then you greet me in return. So you ask me habari yako, and then I'll answer. Okay, so let's do this. Habari yako. Mzuri sana. Thank you so much. That's how we greet in Kiswahili. My name is Dr. Karambu Ringera. I come from Kenya. That's where I live and work. In the race between the lion and the deer almost always wins that race, because the deer runs for life, the lion for food. Purpose is more important than need. I am so glad to be presenting to all of you at this Rotary session. I am a past president of the Rotary Club of Meru a long time ago. And when I think of Rotary, I think of student shoulder to shoulder. It's about leading ethically, standing with people so that they can remember their power and potential. Because the tragedy of a people is when they don't know who they are and their power. Student shoulder to shoulder works with people so that they can remember and step into their power and strength. In my culture, we talk about strength because power is given, but strength is inherent in everyone. And so we draw on the strength that each and every person has. And for me, ethical leadership is about that. Working and walking with people so that they can remember their strength. Because the systems within which we live sometimes can cause us to forget who we are because of the conditioning that happens within those systems. So I honor Rotary, and I was so blessed and still blessed to be a member of that family and student shoulder to shoulder. Student shoulder to shoulder's partnership with international peace initiatives has been one of regeneration for us at International Peace Initiatives. One of International Peace Initiatives programs is the Kithoka Amani Home. It's a children's home. It's not an orphanage. It's a home. I created it to be a home where kids will find love, support, and where they can grow as normal children. Let me see whether I am tech enough to. So, I called my talk today The Power of Regeneration, because for me, regeneration is working with people in such a way that after some time, they get off your back. They're able to stand on their own. And the work that we do is disruptive because we are changing the systems within which people work. If those systems are disabling people from stepping into their strength. So I'm going to talk about disruption with water, because I'm going to talk about a project that we have that is bringing water to a challenged region where we are working. That is us in 2020 during COVID. During COVID, the government said that we should close all institutions. And of course, for me, CACH, Kithoka Amani Children's Home, is not an institution, it is a home. And so this government official kept telling me, the government said you must close all institutions. And I'm like, I don't know where my kids will go. I can't close this home. And so we gathered, and we moved from where the home is in Kithoka, and we went to this place that I'm going to be speaking about today. It is called Njuruta. Njuruta is between two hills, but the whole region has been deforested. People cut down trees for firewood, for charcoal, and for construction. And so today, it is almost bare ground. And this is where we ran to with my kids during COVID. So this place, these are makeshift iron sheet houses that I built very quickly so that we could move over here. Our piece of land here goes like that. But you can see how green it is, right? And so this is where we hid for 6 months. And after the 6 months, so we worked the ground, we worked the land, we fetched firewood, we fetched water using other people's animals and things like that. And after 6 months, my kid said, why doesn't the government extend by another year this thing? So I was like, we had a great time over there of growth, of connection, but also of connection with the land. You have to excuse me. I'm learning how to use this technology. So our home is around here, where I showed you. It's down somewhere here. That is one of the hills, and the other hill is across here. But you can see the whole of this region, when it rains, the water is just washed, the soils are washed down, and these are potential gullies that are developing. And this place is the place that I want to build a school, but the idea is to work with the community and the schools around. This is one of the public schools around. The largest challenge of this place is water. Water, maji. Maji is water in Swahili. And so you might ask me, why do I want to start an alternative school here? It's because our mainstream schools don't teach us how to take care of the land. Because if they did, this place would be different, because there are 2 schools around here. So the goal is to work with the community and the schools around and be able to regenerate this place. But we can't do that without water. Why do I have the audacity to think that we can reclaim that space? It's because the children's home, the ground that we were given to build the children's home, was a piece of rocky wasteland when I got it in 2005. And students shoulder to shoulders trips to Kenya have worked with us to really transform this place. This is where the Eco Center is today. The Eco Center is called Tirigi Eco Center. It is a sustainability project for the children's home. And it was also a piece of wasteland. And today, and this is Njiruta, but I want to show you, this was the Eco Center. Now it looks something like this. This was the rocky ground at the children's home. This is how it looks like today. We've been able to reclaim these spaces in partnership with our community and friends like Student Shoulder to Shoulder groups that come. Student Shoulder to Shoulder here was, I think, 2010. And we fenced this property. And the following year, somewhere around here, we built a goat pen. We have done so many other programs after that, or projects with them, including the Eco Center that I'm talking about, with Student Shoulder to Shoulder. This place called Juruta can be transformed to become a food forest also. Currently, we buy water. I buy water to keep these plants alive. It was like this before, and slowly we are growing trees. We've planted about 1,500 trees around here. Some of them have dried up. Some of them have survived, as you can see. But we need water. Before I go to that, oh my gosh. So I've had meetings with the community so that we can understand the context within which they live, so that they can understand we are planting trees not to cut them down, so that we can regenerate this place, so that their children can stop running away from this place because it is so dry, it's becoming a desert. So during the 6 months, this is us, we would rent this rickshaw, I don't know what you'd call it. It's pulled sometimes by bulls, sometimes by donkeys. And you'd go to fetch water 3 kilometers away from the children's home. You can imagine 60 kids, you have to fetch water to keep them alive, you know? This is just a community lady fetching water. I'm just using this to show you how people get water to this region today. So a couple of years back, we got an organization from Egypt called Life for Water. And we dug a trench 3 kilometers from a water source to bring water to the space where we were staying. And the children worked with us to bring that water home. And that organization gave us these clay water filters so that the kids could have clean water for drinking. Sorry. So these are the Life for Water people. This is a water tank that we bought to put water. And this is when the water reached the home. But this is water that I pay for. I pay for the water. The most amazing thing about this project is the way it brought the community together. I will not work to provide water for the people, but the borehole that we would like to build here is to give people water to be able to take care not only of the crops and the trees that we plant, but it's also so that the schools around here and the children can have clean water so that they stop getting illnesses from drinking unclean water. So what is the future? For me, the future is to bring that borehole to the community and to build an alternative school that goes beyond the mainstream academic education. Because I feel like we need to bring back skills of taking care of the land and the people and the planet into our education system. So far, I have had geological survey and assessment that was done. They said that we need probably a borehole of about 120 feet down. We are on the slopes of a hill. So I don't know how far down that is, but I can imagine. And so the total cost of doing a borehole right now in Kenya is about 2.8 to 3 million Kenya shillings. That is about do you multiply or do you divide by 120? I passed math in high school. About how much, Jim? About $30,000. And so that's the dream. That's the future for this place. And Student Shoulder to Shoulder invited me to share this story with you today because when I was the president of Rotary Club in Kenya, we did a lot of water projects in Tharaka, which is the southern part of Meru, which is also dry like this place. And water changes the lives of people in so many ways. So that's our story. I hope you will ask me questions for things that I didn't cover, but I also invite you to reflect about how you can partner with all of us, Student Shoulder to Shoulder and International Peace Initiatives, to bring water to this region in my country, Kenya. There's an African proverb that says, until the lion learns to write, the story always glorifies the hunter. Mainstream aid is about empowering people, doing things for people. We talk about empoweredness. What I do with that empowerment or that gift I get from someone else. Student Shoulder to Shoulder, working with us, partnering with us, working with us, has given us what it takes to write our own story. Their game is not about helping people. No one needs help. If the right circumstances are given to people, they can take care of themselves. And that is what I feel our partnership with Student Shoulder to Shoulder has been. When the kids from here come to Kenya, they learn a lot from us. They also work with us, and we learn something from them. My kids still remember some of the Student Shoulder to Shoulder students who've been in our program. John seated there. Where is Carter? Carter. Yeah, they've been to Kenya. John promised Nellie, one of my little girls, that he will come back when they left. And the following year, John came back. He's one of two who've returned once they left and fulfilling that promise to that kid that I'll come back. And that is very important to us. So welcome to Kenya. And when you do come back. Thank you.
My understanding is that the borehole just, hello? It's on, but not back there. Okay. My understanding is that the borehole just brings the water to the surface, but don't you still need filters to clean it so that it's safe?
Yeah, we'd need that. We need solar to pump it to tanks. And then when it's in the tanks, we will, filter it before it gets to the tanks so that kids can use it. So yeah, there is a system that we'll need to keep the water safe for drinking.
So that's beyond the $30,000 just for the borehole?
Yes.
I have a question. I may have missed it at the first. Please share a little bit about the children in the home. What are their ages? Where do they come from? How long do they stay? I'd love to know that.
Thank you. Thank you. So Kithoka Amani Children's Home started in 2009. We started with 10 kids. Today, we have 83 children who live at the home, aged from 5 years up to 24, because I stay with kids there until they finish college. People ask me, what is our exit plan? Exit plan at the children's home. And the government requires that once the kids get to 18 years, they leave. But some of my kids delayed their education journey because of their circumstances. So I ask these government officers when they come to me, when did your parents chuck you out of your house? When you're in high school, you lived with your parents, they supported you. So I support the kids until they finish college. So when they're in college, most of the year, they're in school. So during the holidays, they will come and stay with us. But if they have a guardian, a grandmother, an uncle who is willing to stay with them, they can go and stay with their relative during the holidays. Children who don't have parents in my country are very, 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 very challenged, because if they don't have a home to stay, if they don't have a place to stay, I would have to rent spaces for them to stay. I have 44 children in universities and colleges across Kenya. I wouldn't be able to rent houses for all of them. So it's easier for them to come and stay with me at the Eco Center, and they can help us work and do things at the children's home. And that is one thing that has helped me cut costs, because during the holidays, those who come and stay with us are the ones who do various chores with us. So I have right now graduated about 64 bachelor's degrees holders. And so the future is those kids are the ones that will help us grow an endowment fund to help keep Catch moving forward. And we are 50-50 boys and girls. Yeah. Thank you for the question.
Thank you for the presentation. Have you used any Rotary global grants for the water project or for the schoolhouse? You know, you said you're past president of Rotary. I'm just curious. I didn't hear anything about asking any of us in this room from all over the U.S. to do a global grant to help on your projects.
I haven't yet done a global grant to do a project, a water project at Catch, but I got funding in 2015 or so to create a reusable sanitary pads project with the women who do skills training at our children's home. We have a skills training school for women, vulnerable women. And so that's the one grant that I got from Rotary. When I was president, I was very careful to ensure that whatever money we got went to the Raqqa, where water was more challenging for the people there. So we focus funding to those people. But Rotary, yes, has given me money for the sanitary pads project. No, I don't.
This is the group to ask, he said.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you for your presentation. I just want to ask you on a more personal note, what event in your life made you realize that you want to spend your career or your life doing this kind of work?
What led me to this
Yes, like,
journey? When I was growing up, when I was very young, there's a woman who used to run to my mother's house every night. I was very young. I think I was 4 years old. And later on, I asked my mom, why would that woman run into our house every night? Because she would come and, like kick the door open. She'd go to the back of the house. And shortly after, I would hear a man say something to my mother. And my mother would say something. And I never forget the receding steps of that man. So my mother told me that that woman ran from, the husband used to beat her every night. So I was like, she's an adult. Why would someone beat an adult? So anyway, I didn't understand domestic violence at that age. Then I had a friend. Her father married a second wife, and they then chased away the mother. When the mother went back to her home, where she grew up, because she was married and she had children, no one wanted to take care of her. She got sick, and they said, go back to your husband, but there was no place for her to go. So she got very sick, and my friend said, take me to go pray for my mom. She's very sick. So I think we actually sneaked out of school and went to pray for this lady. And she was so ill. She was sleeping outside a hut on cardboard with bed sores so bad. There were maggots on her body. That was a woman. And then HIV/AIDS came, Beatrice. A faithful wife, the husband goes, marries another woman, brings AIDS at home. They all die from AIDS. The man, his second wife, and eventually Beatrice. And I was like, what is it about being a woman in this place? I told myself, I don't know how to not be a woman in this place. What is going to save me? And it was education. I said, I'm going to go to school. I will study and finish our education. That's why I have a PhD. I wish I could have two. And now I tell my girls, education is a husband who will never beat you, who will never deny you money, who will never tell you that there is no money for this and the other. Education. The stories of those women ignited in me the knowing that That's not the life I want. And so I value education because it's gotten me where I am. Yeah.
Thank you for the presentation. I'll ask a question, but from what you just said, there's one thing I'll note. There's a book called Drawdown by a scientist and, well, journalist mostly, Paul Hawken. It's strategic ways around the globe to reduce greenhouse gas emissions. I think the most important investment is reducing refrigeration. But the second one, globally, is educating women, because of all of those effects educating women around the world will have, as demonstrated by stories like yours. So just wanted to note that. So there are even bigger reasons why educating women around the world is so important. The question I have for you is funding. How are you funded? Is it sustainable, predictable, dependable?
It's semi-sustainable now because I travel. I travel to talk to groups of people for people to be inspired to support our work. I have also created, like the Eco Center, is a place where we host guests and workshops and things like that, and people pay to be there. We grow our own food as much as we can so that it supplements buying food all the time. We virtually grow all the vegetables that I use at the children's home. So we've started creating a system where we can offset some of what we need. When my kids finish high school, they serve at the children's home for 1 year before they go to college. And so that helps me save money on employing cooks, house mothers, and stuff that we need to do, like welcoming and cooking, taking care of guests. So these opportunities have enabled our children to learn hospitality, service, and giving back to the children's home. So, but I travel right now. I travel a lot because our bell curve has changed. In the beginning, most of my kids were in primary school and high school. Now most of my kids are in high school and college. And so our funding has gone up. But that's some of the ways that we are funding our programs. Yeah. And also, I should mention the Kenyan community that actually brings us food. I think every quarter there's a group that comes to visit the children's home to encourage them, to inspire them, and also to bring us food and clothes and things like that. Yeah. Thank you.
If you could change or go back in time and make sure you do one thing, is you learn from your mistakes, what would it be?
Repeat the last sentence.
If you learn from your mistakes or what you could have done better, what would you change if you went into the past?
I would have invited the community in earlier on to work with me. When I started the children's home, I had a lot of resistance from the community because in their view, they thought, oh, these poor kids. And I was like, no, these are not all those poor kids. They are children just like your children. It's just that they have the misfortune of losing their parents, and some of them are HIV positive, but they're children just like your children. So because of that, I kept a distance from the community. But at the same time, I wanted my kids to integrate within the community so that we were not like an island. And so in hindsight, the journey that we have walked to be friends with the community would have been much shorter. We are friends now, but I wish we did that much earlier. So that's the one thing that I would have liked to change. Yeah.
How does one get into your school?
The children's home or the school? The children's home? The government, the children's office might bring a child. The church community might know a child in the community that is struggling, and they will ask me to have the children. The largest number of children came from the women living with HIV. If they had a young child that they were struggling to take care of, because the women always thought they were going to die any day, I took that child. I left the lady taking care of older children because they could also support her. But also, we did a skills training program for the women so that they could make their own money, so that they could take care of themselves. So those are the ways that the children come to us. Is that your question?
The school is different? Is the school?
The school is different from the children's home. And the school is just beginning now. So I just started like a homeschool first. And the kids just come from around the community where we are. Yeah. But when we go to that site, then the whole of that region, their kids can come to our school. Yeah.
I'm next. Thank you for being here. You're one of the draws for me to come to this conference, was to see you again. We work very similarly with children in Ghana, and we're just now getting many of them up at university level, but we're now then dealing with the challenge of what's next if there's not jobs. So I'm just curious what the primary pathways your girls in particular are taking, and if you're dealing with those same challenges of education but not job opportunity.
Beautiful question. Thank you. So probably similar to Ghana, girls are more challenged. And so my heart was always with how I stand with the girls, but also with the boys, because I kept saying, if I empower my girls, who will they marry if the boys are not empowered also, you know? So for my kids who have finished school, college, for example, they've been lucky to get employment. I have kids who are nurses, teachers, counselors, psychologists. You know, they are all different. They're in different fields. So far, most of them have gotten jobs. The reason why the alternative school is very important for me now is we have seen that most boys are not getting employment. So a lot of them are living with their parents. And even this morning, I was reading a story of a lady who was asking for help because she has 3 sons. They've all finished their degree programs, but they are not working. And they've been at home for 5, 7, 10 years. And so the alternative school is hopefully going to work with children so that we are not so academically inclined. We forget that kids can show up in different ways using different skills. And I tell my kids, the mainstream education is in my country is based on a colonial legacy of train people to work for someone. And we've been having discussions about why don't you go to school so that you can create your own job and also employ other people. So the skills training thing has been very important for us. I have boys who've gone to skills training colleges to learn construction. So they're actually now the ones who are building with us. We have kids who've been plumbers. They're the ones who do plumbing for us. And we pay them, but they've created their own jobs and they're working for other people in the community. So that's the goal of the alternative school, to continue building that so that kids understand you can do this, but also there are alternatives. And you don't have to be someone else's employee. You can actually create your own dream job. Yeah. Thank you.
Do I have to push a button? Yeah? Okay. Good morning. Thank you. I'm Bob Bandoni. I'm the Executive Director of students shoulder to shoulder. And I wanted to add to your response to the question of revenue sources. So I was with Karambu in Kenya a year ago, and I wouldn't have known this if I wasn't there. But what we're talking about now is completing what looks to me like what I would call a virtuous cycle, meaning that there is such rich potential right now for this to be self-sufficient. And it first dawned on me when I was there to see, and I will not remember his name, but he now works for Volvo in Sweden.
Evans.
Okay. And he started with you at what age?
He came when he was in high school. So after primary school, there was no one to take him to high school. So he stayed on the streets for 8 years before he went to high school at the age of 21.
Okay. And he now works for Volvo, but what's most important, see, if you end there, then it's not cyclical. It's just linear. But he is now sending money back to sponsor students at Koch, at the home. And it just hasn't had enough time. I understand this because we're kind of in this situation with shoulder to shoulder as well, where alumni can come back and nourish the program that made it possible for them to be where they are in life. And it is beginning to happen now. So the idea of still working from outside of the program to bring money in is to get the program to be self-sufficient. And every indication suggests to me anyway that we're there. It's not simple, but water is really there, not just, okay, water is the end game. It's not the end game. The end game is for this model to work and for this model to be self-sufficient. So in terms of the revenue that you were thinking about, the model is there, the cycle is just beginning now to come full circle. Does that make sense? Yeah, okay, thanks. Oh, and I think if there's one question left, other than that, we're gonna say thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Good morning, and I just want to start off by saying thank you all for being here today. I know that it can be hard to take time away from busy schedules for something like this event that feels like a little bit of an indulgence, I think. But in my experience, the energy and the optimism that I feel when I leave this event is worth every single unread email in your inbox. My name is Anna Robinson, and I'm the director of Vail Valley Works. We are the 501c3 nonprofit arm of the Vail Valley Partnership, which is your local chamber of commerce. Vail Valley Works is dedicated to workforce development. We focus primarily on leadership and professional development trainings, work-based learning opportunities, nonprofit resources, and workplace wellness initiatives. We are committed to listening to and collaborating with the business community in order to provide the most relevant, timely, and innovative programming available. And I emphasize that relevant and timely because when Student Shoulder to Shoulder approached us about partnering on the Ethical Leadership Forum, I just messed up Barbara. When Student Shoulder to Shoulder approached us about partnering on the Ethical Leadership Forum, we jumped at the chance. And not just because it's such a wonderful event that brings so many people together, it's because we just happen to have one of those relevant and timely topics that kept bubbling to the surface in our conversations with the business community and their staff. So business owners were voicing frustration and uncertainty about how to motivate and communicate with those new young people entering their workforce. The newest members of the workforce were expressing feeling out of place and lacking the confidence and the resources to kind of navigate and exist in this professional landscape. We felt this forum provided the perfect opportunity to open up this conversation and frame it with a lens of collaboration and the goal of shared success at every level. Our speaker today was a recommendation from a colleague, and after meeting her, booking her was one of the easiest decisions that I've made in a while. Vail Valley Works is honored to bring in Barbara Brooks to be our guide on the journey of multi-generational teams. Barbara is rewriting the rules of aging one mic at a time. A leading voice for age positivity, Barbara founded Second Act Women and the 40 Plus Lab, a platform reshaping how the world sees women over 40. Through her work, she helps companies and communities embrace the power of age-inclusive teams. Named one of the 25 most powerful women in business by the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce, her insights have appeared in Forbes, Fast Company, MarketWatch, CBS Colorado, and Colorado Public Radio. Today, she's sharing how when generations collaborate instead of colliding, innovation rises, culture thrives, and business grows, all with her signature energy and expertise. Please welcome Barbara Brooks.
Thank you so much. Yes, I really am this tall. But my doctor told me actually the other day, I was telling someone here, my doctor told me that I was 5'10", and I'm normally 5'11". I said, no, I'm owning 5'11", okay? I want to say thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here today. Let's talk about bringing booming Gen X Millennial Zs. That was not a typo, and they sent that out to you. I call that booming Gen X Millennial Zs, how we can work together. And the power of bringing us together, I'm telling you, there's nothing like it. But first, let's start with a stat. I love stats. Now, I wish I would have loved stats when I was at CSU as much, but any Rams in the room, by the way? Any Rams? No Rams? All right. I'm sure there's some bolder people in the room, probably. I got woo over there. $850 billion. So there's an issue. People are not just the issue in workplaces. Profit is also an issue. And I'm going to get back to this number, so hang on. We're going to share what this number actually represents. But let's talk about the workplace. Let's talk about how today's workplace has not one, not two, not three, not even four, but 5 generations are working today. A lot of people don't want to retire. We're having fun working. And the thing is, when you have all of those generations working together, I know communication can break down because we all have a different way of communicating and working and all of the things. And we're going to talk about those stereotypes and the myths, and we're going to bust them. But the potential is incredible when we embrace all 4 to 5 of the generations. Now, I want you to imagine this. Seriously, imagine this. It's an American company, Anywhere, USA. You have Margaret, Rob, Jasmine, and then we've got our Gen Z. So, let's talk about what's happening in this meeting. At one end of the table is Margaret. Margaret is a leader. She's got plenty of experience. Margaret's our boomer, so she's over 60. But they're whispering behind her back, shouldn't she be retiring? And then some are saying, she's in the workplace too long. She's taking my job. Yeah, that's what they're saying. And then you have Gen X, our Gen Xer, Rob. They say Rob is a technophobe. They say that he is, yeah, he's the problem solver. But you don't rarely find him on his phone. And he prefers calls over texts. I hear some chuckling because some people are, Oh, and then we have Jasmine sitting across from those two, our Gen Y. That's millennial. Yeah, Jasmine is, She's all about, workplace balance. They whisper behind her back that she's entitled. She wanted a sabbatical when she was interviewing. She said, wait, can I get a sabbatical at some point? Because it's about workplace balance. That's what they say about Jasmine. Oh, and then we have our Gen Z, Alex. Gen Z, he's always on his phone. He shows up when he wants to. He might be in his soft clothes on Zoom. You guys know what soft clothes are? We all have on hard clothes today. So he has on his soft clothes down. But they're talking about him just, being restless in meetings. Those are all stereotypes. And they are not true in the least. But then, because we're talking students, coming up is Gen A, Gen Alpha. Did you know there's a Gen Alpha? Do you know that was what they're called? Yes? All right. So those are our teens that are coming up. But of course, she's not. She's working at the Gap or something, so she's not quite in this meeting. But I thought I would at least share with you that there is another generation coming up. But let's talk about busting some of these myths. Let's talk about our boomer who's ready to retire. She's not ready to retire. It's exactly what I said at the very beginning. She's enjoying where she is. She's exceeding. She loves her job. She's not looking forward to it. And I don't know how many people are over 60 in this room or over 55 in this room who are nowhere thinking about retirement. That is how it is today. I can't wait to share some more stats with you on that. Gen X, our technophobe, Rob, he's not a technophobe. Do you know Gen X boomers are digital founders? We are digital founders. Who founded Microsoft? Who founded Apple? Who founded PlayStation? Who founded all of those companies that are tech companies? Ariana Huffington. She has 4 companies, including an AI company that she started in her 70s. So Rob's not a technophobe. He just that's his preferred way of communicating. That's it. Now, with his friends, he may be texting back and forth, and he'd be slacking it up or, back DMing each other and all the things. And then you've got our millennial who's entitled. Well, guess what? Her wanting that sabbatical and her wanting that workplace balance, it's good for all of us. As a Gen Xer myself, I kind of wish we would have had that opportunity to even talk about taking a few weeks off. Now, I probably wouldn't because I love working. I'm 59. Just turned 59, by the way. Can I get a yay? 3 days ago, October 7th. Okay, then we have Gen Z, tech absorbed. No. We like to say that they're lazy and that they come in, and I heard some of you that own businesses are getting some Gen Zs that I guess are immediately asking in their interviews, when can they get time off? Well, listen, if you're a Gen Z, don't do that, first of all. But they're not lazy. Heck, no, don't even raise your hand yet. We're going to talk about the generations in a minute. But that's what they called Gen Xers back in the day, that we were the slackers. We're the latchkey kids. We're the, all the things. That's what they stereotyped us. But we've got to drop those stereotypes. So here's what I want to know. Who's our Gen Z in the room? Now, I understand the students are in another room. Oh, actually students, so they'd be Gen Alpha. All right, any Gen Zs in the room? And I'm giving you the dates of your birth here. Gen Z, one Gen Z, you can raise higher. Be proud. We had another one. Look, there's another one, like an animal in the wild. There's another one. Okay, let's talk about millennials, Gen Y. Who are the millennials in the room? Okay. Awesome. Oh, someone's getting ready to raise for Gen X. Who's Gen X in the room? I get that response every time. I was just speaking at Advent Health yesterday at a women's summit. Gen Xers are like, woo! So that means boomers. I want to hear from you, boomers in the room. Yes. Thank you. And you know what I'm not going to say? Okay, boomer. It's not fair. But that is who, I love that we're all in the room. Now, we need more Gen Zers, but we're talking about the power of us. So here's what I want to know. I would love to know what other stereotypes about your generation are you hearing? And then we're going to bust it. So I'm not going to pick on anybody. I know we probably have some introverts. I'm not that person who's going to say, will you tell me? But I would love for someone to be open and honest. What stereotypes have they heard about their generation? Anyone? Sure, come on, think about it. Yes. Do you want to stand up for me? Do you mind? Now, if that's, you don't have to. Okay. Hold on one second. Can we get a microphone in the room? Thank you, Mr. James.
I feel like, or I've heard that Gen X feels like they're a forgotten generation, that they don't get any attention.
Yes. How do you feel about that?
I am Gen X, but I don't really feel forgotten, so I don't relate to it.
You do or you don't?
I do not relate to it.
You do not?
Yeah.
And so you just busted it. But what I will tell you is we do find that Gen Xers and boomers and late stage millennials, those that are over 40, do feel that often in the workplace. They feel unseen, unheard, and told pretty much that they shouldn't, they just go without feeling that they're heard. And people are sort of not listening to them. That's their feeling. But that's why we're all here, is to talk about that, to bust that. So I'm glad you don't feel that way. That makes my heart sing. Let's talk about another one. And you could still be a Gen Xer. You could be a Gen Y. Let's talk about another one and let's bust it. Anyone? Yay! And tell us your generation. By the way, I'm hot flashing.
I'm a millennial.
I take my jacket off. I'm making menopause okay to talk about it. I'm over it, but y'all, my hair's going to be this big by the end of the day because I'm going to be sweating. All right, go ahead.
I'm a millennial, and I've heard that millennials are considered lazy and unreliable in the workplace.
Yes.
Which I do not relate to. I work my butt off.
How do you show that? Tell us a little bit about what you do. Proving them wrong.
I work in commercial insurance, and when I first started with my agency that I work for, I was commission only. 1099, so I can show up when I want. I don't have to be there. And I was showing up early and staying late to show my boss, hey, I really want to be here. I'm serious. I want to work hard. And then I got offered a salary, which was huge for me.
Love that. Good for you.
Thank you.
Do we have another one that wants to share? Yes. I met you when I walked in. No, that was somebody else. Sorry.
No, that was Brad Pitt. I look like him. I mean, that's Gen Xers. We're all intelligent and attractive. That's one of the other ones. Yeah. But no, I've heard that millennials have entire bookshelves just.
Wait, are you millennial?
No.
Oh.
No, I'm old. I'm a Gen Xer. But
you are the Gen Xer. Okay.
But I have heard that millennials have entire bookshelves just filled with participation trophies.
See, now that is a myth.
This is my coworker, and he cannot handle not having a microphone, so just bear with me.
Now listen, that's the entitlement. That's all the things that we hear. Thank you for that. Incorrect. Is there a millennial in the room that wants to bust that? Another one? Let's get a millennial to bust that. Hold on. What? Oh, we got to hear that one out loud. One more time.
I would just say we did not give those trophies to ourselves. So if you want to assign blame here for participation trophies, it wasn't really us. Also, they're not on our shelves, they're in our parents' attics at this point.
But that's totally a myth. The reason is we are all individuals. And something you have to know is that we all bring row. Whatever you are doing, whether we have students or insurance folks or contractors in the room, 1099s, work from homers in the room, whatever you bring to your workplace and you do well at is your return on experience. Everybody has a return on experience, regardless of if you're over 60 or you're just starting out. Everyone has some sort of return on experience, life experience, work experience, all the things. So let's reimagine. Now that I told you that that's not absolutely true, or the participation medals, let's reimagine that boardroom. But let's reimagine it where they're actually respecting one another, where they actually are not snickering behind Margaret's back that she's too old. One of the words I hate, too old. 2 words. Whoops, 2 words. I went to school, I promise. 2 words. Together we are unstoppable. By the way, did the Broncos win last weekend? Because I forgot. We did, didn't we? Yeah. Love me some Broncos, but obviously I didn't watch the game. I was at an event that we were hosting. Anyway, we are unstoppable. We are powerful. When you bring us all together and we forego all of the jokes about us and the gray hair says that you're too old, and why is it that men are considered with the S word? I don't know if I can say it because we have teachers in the room, so, they look better than women do when they age and they get the gray. False. We all look great. But why does this matter? Because everyone works differently. Every single one of those people that I talked about are all individuals. There actually may be a Gen Xer who's a technophobe, but there also may be a Gen Zer who's not really into tech. There also may be a boomer who is really into tech. Met one yesterday at my conference. She was running the boards. She's 65. We all work differently. That's what we have to remember when we are working together. And here's a stat for you. The reason why we have to learn to work together, not only because I told you there are 4 for sure, and in some workplaces, 5 generations. 1 in 5 people by 2030, guess how old do you think they will be? 1 in 5 in America. 1 in 5. 70? Okay. Do we have another number? 55? 30? Do we hear 30? 30? 65. 1 in 3 people in America. We have to learn to work together. And because I just told you, we're not stopping. And today, 1 in 3 people are over 50 in America. How many of you are over 50? Let's do this. Be proud of that. Be proud of that. How many of you are in your 20s? Again, let's do the 20s. Let's give you a woo! 30s. Woo! All right, and 40s. 60s. Yes, 70 plus. Still working. Boom. So here are just the facts, ma'am. Age-diverse teams outperform. So we've got to learn how to work together. Inclusive cultures are more likely to innovate. They're more likely to thrive. And workers, sadly, of all age groups, have experienced or witnessed ageism. I'm going to give you exactly the stats behind this, but let me give you a story. So Gen Zers can also feel in their 20s. They can also feel ageism. I was working in San Antonio. I'm a mall girl. I used to be director of marketing of Park Meadows Retail Resort. That's what we call it. I learned never to call it a mall on my first day. It's retail resort. And But anyway, so I was in San Antonio, just fresh out of college, starting out as an assistant marketing director of a shopping center in San Antonio, Texas. And my boss, Mary, who I loved, I learned a lot from her, but I spoke up in a business meeting that she was having with a client. After that business meeting, Mary pulled me aside politely, and she said, "You are here to listen and learn. Basically, don't speak in the meetings, just take notes." I said, okay, because that's what, as Gen Xers, I mean, she's our boss. We respect that. I am here to listen and learn. That's what I thought. That's ageism. That's her saying that in my 20s, I think I was 25, 26, that's her saying, you don't have the knowledge, the experience, the life to have a thought, an idea in that meeting. So here are the actual facts. When you all are finding ways to work with one another, you outperform by 30% when you have a multi-generational team. This is not 2 generations at your workplace, this is 3. This is a minimum of 4. You are outperforming by 30%. Your productivity is going up. Your innovation is going up. Your bottom line is going up. Inclusive cultures are 6 times, not 1 time, not 2 times, 6 times more likely to innovate and 9 times more likely to thrive. Because there's the feeling of belonging, that we all are on the same team, literally and figuratively. And 60% of us have witnessed or experienced the bias, which is our elephant in the room. Many elephants in the room. Ageism. And yesterday, by the way, it has its own day. Yesterday was National Ageism Awareness Day. There's actually, it's also National Menopause Month, ladies. But yesterday was Ageism Awareness Day. And as I said, anybody in this room can experience ageism. Sadly, if you think about it, and obviously I'm a black woman, I know the isms, this is the only ism that is allowed to be expressed on stages, in your homes, in workplaces, quietly, laughed about. This is the last remaining ism that is permitted. And of those companies that have DEI initiatives, only 8% of those companies even include this ism as one of the initiatives. By now, might even be lower. While he's doing that, I'll give you a little bit of my background, because some people are always curious, you went from malls to pro-age speaking? What? So I was a mall marketer. I was also in radio and TV for a bit, but my real jam was mall marketing. And what had happened was, when I left, when there were cuts being made at Park Meadows, I'm an expert in marketing and PR, and so I decided to start a marketing agency with a business partner that I had met when I was at Park Meadows. So we started this agency, and then in 2012, I think it was. And then what happened was, we decided, after successfully having this agency, we got burned out on being 1099s and doing the client thing. And I'm a corporate girl anyway. I like working for corporations. At least I did back then. And so Lupe and I decided, you know what? Let's give it up. Let's consciously uncouple. We all remember that term from back in the day with Gwyneth Paltrow and Coldplay. What's his name? Thank you, Chris. Yes. God, I wanted to see that when they came here. Anyway, so that was 2018, we consciously uncoupled. And I, at only 51, did you guys hear the operative word of only? 51 at the time in 2018. I tried desperately to find a job. Remember I told you marketing is my jam. I'm an international award-winning marketing director from the International Council of Shopping Centers. That's a thing. That's a thing. And so I had won many awards. And so for me, not to get an actual, wow, there is a real setup. My apologies. For me not to get a job, here's what happened. I sent over 100 resumes to get 5, I'm not exaggerating, over 100 resumes to get 5 interviews. By the way, got ghosted on one of those. Never showed up. So don't ghost people. Don't ghost. Only to get 0 job offers. 0. So I decided to start a company and do something about it. I decided to start Second Act Women, spelled out, secondactwomen.com, to help women over 40 who are experiencing ageism, because that's what was happening. I'm going to show you after this video. You all get a kick out of an SNL skit that I think what the recruiters were probably thinking I was like, because they figured out, I'm guessing, because back then, you put your ages, or I'm sorry, your dates of graduation. You all know it's illegal now in Colorado, July 1st of 2024. Do not put the graduation dates if you are seeking a new job. It's our way, it's Colorado's way of eradicating ageism. So we started the company, Second Act Women. We, as in, I asked Lupe to come back. I said, girl, I'm starting this company. And she said, I'll give you 20% of my time, because she was still looking for a job. And sure enough, 4 months in, she was experiencing it. She said, I'm in. So we became co-founders. She now works for the state of Colorado. We consciously had coupled again. I was out with her on Tuesday for my birthday. But that's how what happened to me is I decided I am not only going to create this 24,000 person community for women over 40 and talk a lot about aging and ageism and multicultural, multi-generational teams on LinkedIn and everywhere I can, but also go and speak inside of corporations and organizations like this so that I can, in a backdoor way, erase ageism and say, hire us all. Because I don't know how many of you have had friends who have sent hundreds of resumes to get jobs that are over a certain age. It's a tragedy and it's a crisis in America. But let's talk about, so that's a little bit about how I ended up here. Here we go.
So what's this all about?
Cassette again, so I'm too old for this.
You just want me to say what people say about me. Weird question, I guess.
My teacher says you'll go out of it. It's just a phase.
It was never a phase. I never grew out of it.
I guess I'm too reckless, I don't know.
People like to talk very loudly to me.
They say I don't think things through.
You're looking still good for your age.
I'll figure it out when I'm older.
You are having a senior moment.
When the focus is on my age,
Life seems to get a little bit harder.
It feels like I'm not given a chance.
I need to keep up.
Or get out of the way.
I lack experience. Or too much experience.
I'm baggage.
Only weighing people down.
Looking at my age like it is a disease. Where I work, no one takes me serious.
It makes me feel powerless.
And it hurts.
When people see only my age.
Age. It shouldn't define you, regardless of if you're emerging talent or experienced talent. It should not ever define who you are and what you can do in the workplace. Here's my story. I'm going to fast forward through it. But this is what they thought. I'm 50. 50. I think this is what they literally thought. I'm going to show up in a pantsuit to work. I'm not going to be a culture fit. I literally, and of course we all know Molly Shannon is a Gen Xer, but that's what they thought. Here is what Indeed said about emerging talent, and experienced talent. Can you believe this? Oh, if you're 21 to 25, those of you that raised your hand, oh, you're in your exploration phase of work. If you're in your establishment, that seems to be the sweet spot, 25 to 35. Mid-career, 35 to 45. That's when ageism starts hitting, the other side of ageism, the non-hireable side of ageism. Late-stage career, 45 to... Do you feel that you're in your late-stage career, my 45 to 55-year-olds in the room? Oh, and do you feel like you're on a decline if you're over 55? And they don't even cover those of us that are over 65. Oh, you should have seen this blow up all over LinkedIn. It hit Forbes, Fast Company. They got blown up. I sent a message to the director of marketing, or the VP of marketing, or sorry, CMO of marketing to Indeed in a very PC way, because I'm hoping that I can go in and teach them a little something. But this was an article that they posted and then reposted everywhere. Do you feel those? This is a mistake. Horrible. I was like, yeah, Indeed? What you talking about? I know the late stage millennials and the Gen Xers and the boomers get this one, and the traditionalists. What you talking about, Willis? That's what we were all saying on LinkedIn, all of us pro-agers, but emerging talent, 21 up Gen Zs, they are emerging talent. And when it meets people like us that are experienced in another way, nothing but the best. Let's talk about the Power of Four framework when it comes to bringing our teams together. We have to learn to understand the generations, understanding who we are and not laughing at one another when we're going old school or new school, talking about TikTok, the latest TikTok, or talking about Beastie Boys. I don't know, I just went there. I mean, come on. Each generation has truly shaped the world. Truly shaped the world today. And together, we're all reshaping it. We shouldn't allow marketing agencies, we shouldn't allow family members, we shouldn't allow anyone say that we're too old to do, to be, to want. Or you're too young to do, to be, to want. Or those of you in the middle, do not let anybody tell you any better, because we are reshaping the world. We are all cultural architects. We all have a different cultural background. We're all bringing something to the table, all of us. We need to be respectful of that. Number two is we've got to call out the isms, all sides of it. As I said, we have to cut out the they're too old. Oh, he's a technophobe. Here's another one. Oh, they're too green. Oh, she's entitled. All the things. We've got to call it out. This is a stage where when we're together, we're innovating together. So let's look at another video. Let's talk about ageism in another way.
All right. How you doing?
Hi, good.
Have you ever done this before?
No. It's exciting.
So tell me, how old are you?
19. 24.
29.
I'm 41. I'm going to be a mother for the first time.
42.
71.
I'm 74.
I'm ready.
Okay, so we're just gonna talk. You're gonna show me stuff. Do I need my glasses?
I'm going to show you some slides, and I'd like you to fill in the blank and put the words "for her age" at the end of the sentence.
All right.
She has flawless skin for her age.
Beautiful for her age. She looks better than most 20-year-olds for her age.
She looks great.
She is beautiful.
Fierce for her age.
In burlesque, I love it.
That might be a little bit inappropriate for her age.
Jane looks amazing for her age.
She doesn't look her age. She's pretty hot.
For her age.
For her age.
Her age. I'm going to show you some other slides now. So I'm just going to ask you to read the sentences that we provided for you.
Okay.
She dances well for a white girl.
That's not nice at all. It's just ridiculous.
She's rich for an immigrant?
No, that's so gross. She's funny for an Asian.
Oh my God, they're getting worse.
Well, this girl's half Asian, and me and her dad are pretty freaking funny, so she's gonna be funny.
She's pretty for a thick girl. I hate that. Beauty should not be defined by your size. Yeah, I hate that. She drives well for a woman.
You can't think like that. And then you bring up your kids like that. Then you have a society like that. We got another one? Is it gonna be worse? There we are.
She looks good for her age.
So I didn't expect this to fall apart.
They're all the same, narrow-minded and ignorant.
I'm guilty. I say for her age all the time. It's harder to look good in your late 40s. You can be hot at 23 and you just roll out of bed.
Sometimes I think it's good and sometimes I don't.
I didn't realize I was really insulting anybody, only because if someone says it to me, I think it's good.
It's not a compliment.
It's really like a backhanded compliment.
I think it is a bias. People are definitely labeled by their age.
I guess for her age is more commonly accepted. This is okay to say.
Which is like, why? You look good is a lovely compliment, but to qualify it, you're saying, well, in comparison to the mainstream of beauty, you don't look good, but you look good for how old you are.
It's degrading.
I think everyone should understand this. I think people be treated differently.
Say you look good, period. Don't add for her age. No, I'm gonna leave the for your age part off.
Unless you're asked these questions, I don't think you have the mind to start this conversation.
You know what? Everyone's gonna get older.
Disrupt aging. It is literally saying when someone says, and I used to accept it. I used to accept it because my mom was the same. She was always telling her age to people, and they'd say, oh, you look good for your age. I used to accept it and thought it was a compliment. You know what it's saying? I'm old at a certain number. That's really what it means, when in actuality, I'm not old, and neither are any of you in the room. We have to practice generational solidarity and drop those kinds of labels. We have to resist those labels. How many of you will never say that again, by the way? You look good for your age. And yeah, everybody should raise their hand. And any other, things that they said inside of that. But age... That was actually my breaking news. Yes. We have to re-script those mental filters because let's think about it. Age does not equal ability or disability. It doesn't. We have to expand your circle. How many of you have multi-generational friends? Oh, this is like yesterday's. Yay, I'm kind of preaching to the choir today. I love that, but hopefully I'm having you rethink things. Hopefully I'm having some of you say, you know what? I'm going to listen to my grandmother's stories. She's not too old. I'm going to go visit my grandmother, or I'm going to listen to my mom or my kids. Listen to them. Expand your circle more. How about that? You have to embrace every voice because we all have one. We're all individuals, as I said. And we have to stand together against ageism. If you see it or feel it, and here's the thing, it's extremely hard to play out in the courts. So we have to band together. Ask any lawyer, and we all probably have plenty of those, as friends, I should say. But it is hard to prove unless you're documenting and doing all the things you don't want to do. You just want to do your job. So we need to stand together. If somebody makes a snide remark about Emily, or, oh, sorry, Emily was the Gen A, about Rob, or Margaret, or our Gen Zer. You have to find the funny, the human, and the real, no matter where you are in your career. You have to find it all, and you have to look past all of the things that you were ever told or that marketing campaigns have ever told. And listen, speaking of marketing, you can't reverse aging. How many ads do we hear from major cosmetics brands about that men, women, and they are all trying to put on their faces to reverse aging? Now listen, I don't care if you do Botox and all that other stuff, but you can't reverse aging. We have to stand up to that. So here's a question for the room. Let's find commonality in the room. Who has flown across the country to see a concert? It could be any one of these up here. Where'd you fly to? Oh, James, can we get, oh, did he, okay. Let's find it. Yes. Do you mind sharing? Okay. Where'd you fly to and your generation?
I am an elder millennial. And
I love how the millennials all do that. Do you notice that? Hey. I'm a younger millennial, because you're the largest, so I get it.
I'm in the 80s. Taylor Swift in London. I'm a Swiftie.
Girl, you really went all out. Okay. So we have who else? Share with us. If you have flown to, yes, here we go. Yes.
I did not fly, but I hitchhiked from Steamboat to Denver because I paid for concert tickets and I missed the one bus per day that goes from Steamboat to Denver.
To see who? And what's your generation?
I'm a millennial.
Millennial, and who'd you go to see? Who'd you do that to?
Polo and Pan, French DJs.
You go. Love it. Someone at this table wanted to share?
Also elder millennial, and I flew to Los Angeles to see Oasis.
To see Oasis? Oh, yeah, that was recent, wasn't it? Yeah, they're back. Okay, no Gen Xers? Well, I'm a Gen Xer. I flew to Minnesota to see Beyonce. How about that? And then I had to go see Prince's place. And then I cried. My family calls me Stormy. Every Southern family, black family, we all have nicknames. Mine was Stormy. My parents were from Texas originally, but born in France, raised in Colorado Springs. And so I cried when I walked in Prince's compound. And Beyonce. I was like, what am I doing? All right, go ahead. Yes. I don't care when it was.
But I flew to Chicago to see you too.
To see who?
You too. And I'm a Gen Xer, so clearly.
I literally got chills. I remember when they came to, oh yeah, okay, yeah. All right, what about TV shows? TV shows. Now, did we see commonality between, there was no difference. We all have flown somewhere. Or I could even say you just went to Red Rocks to see a show. More than likely, there was a lot of generations in that show. Let's talk about Survivor, Netflix. I'm not going to say and chill because I know what it means. I found that out the wrong way. Survivor, Netflix, or are you a reality TV, Real Housewives? Let's do this. Who's reality TV junkies in the room? Okay, I see a few different generations. Okay? How many of you are Survivor? Want to go, oh, let's go even further. Who wants to go on Survivor? You, okay, our millennial. Over there, are you, what's your generation? Gen X millennial. Uh-huh. She's really, and she's in her 40s, 50s, and she wants to get, see? She wants to be out there getting bug bites. Let's talk about TikTok, YouTube. I mean, are you all, you're probably, how many of you in the room are on TikTok? Even if you're just a voyeur. Okay, does anybody own a podcast or have a podcast in the room? Because you know everybody has a podcast. Well, of course you have a podcast. What is it? So we can all tune in. I'm sure it's funny.
It's through the partnership. It's called the Partnership Podcast. It's about business interests in this valley.
Love it. What's it called? Oh, it's called that, the Partnership Podcast. Mine's called The House of Middle Essence. I need to get better at filming and recording because I love to do interviews, but I always, life is lifing. But we have commonalities is the point. And so it really is a booming Gen X, Millennial Z world we live in. We need to accept it. We need to embrace it. There's no greater time than today for us to want to be together, for us to want to support one another, regardless of you know what. Who cares what your affiliations are, your race, your creed? There's no better time than today for us to own who we are, but also love on one another, regardless of the year that we were born, because we're really like a good box of chocolates. You never know what you're going to get. We're all individuals in this room. By the way, I'm a tech junkie too. Whew. Anything new? Look at me, this is my clicker. Just came out on Canva. Loving it. The future truly is multi-generational. So we have to embrace that now. And I'm so thrilled that I get to share this message with you today to such an intergenerational crowd. There's no better time. So here's your assignment. I hope you're not like her. Oh, God. And then she's really into it. I want you to audit, if you're a company owner, manager, or you lead a team, you should really be auditing your culture, examining your hiring language. You should be figuring out how many generations are getting promoted. Now listen, this isn't about hiring because they're a certain age. Not in the least. This is truly about diversity, equity, inclusion, if you understand what that means, and belonging. Once you have DEI in place and we all feel equal, then and only then will you have belonging. Diversity, equity, inclusion means handrails. That's what diversity, equity, inclusion is. So I just want to make sure that you think about those things. Start an experience exchange. Celebrate everyone's return on experience. Celebrate it all. Normalize aging. Now listen, you can't talk about age in the workplace, but if you're out having happy hour, drinks, whatever, old school happy hour, because gosh, we're all in our own lives these days. Get out there and let's normalize aging. That 850 billion, that's what it represents. Age discrimination cost the United States economy $850 billion in 2018. Can you only imagine what that number is today? Because for most in COVID that lost their jobs, it was the great push out. It was the great push out of people over a certain age. And then there were those who said, I'm pushing myself out. I want to be my own boss. 850 billion in 2018. It's a crisis. that's happening. I want to leave you with this. Embrace aging. It's human. It's an absolute privilege. And it's all about living. You woke up today. Some didn't have that opportunity. You are truly blessed, if I may say that. Just embrace whatever chapter number you are sitting at today, because it is a miracle that you were able to walk through the doors today. Aging is truly living. And I want to say thank you for having me today. I always enjoy sharing these types of things. I understand last year you had longer tables. Tim Jones, I'm an advisor of his, and Google longer tables. It's about bringing people together, breaking bread. Here's where you can find me. Oh, I knew that was going to happen towards the end. Stand by. I got my trusty little. Here's where you can connect with me. If you want to bring diversity, or not diversity, equity, inclusion, I'm not that expert. I'm just the age person. I'm not in HR and all those things. But here's where you can find me. Here's my link tree. You can find everywhere. LinkedIn, Instagram, all the places, and even my house of middlescence, because we're in middlescence when you're over 40. I don't like the word midlife. This is middlescence. So anyway, this is where you can find me. And thank you so very much. I'd love to have a cup of coffee with any of you. Vail is my favorite Colorado town. I've been coming here since 18 when we all packed 10 of us at the Marriott in a room on July 4th weekend. And I'm not lying, and beers in the tub. That's how it was with my sorority sisters. So anywho, thank you very much for having me today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone. Please give one more round of applause for Barbara. Thank you so much for your insights. This is a conversation that we need to start. We're at the beginning. And so I hope that everyone gains some insights or, just a starting point to take this back and open up this discussion with your teams, with your friends, with your families, with your networks. So if you're wondering about this set swap going up on here, we're going to do a little quick fireside chat. And so that will be followed by audience Q&A. So get your questions ready. Joining Barbara for our fireside chat is Dr. Katie Anthus. And Dr. Anthus was the presenter for the educator portion of the Ethical Leadership Forum. And she generously agreed to join this discussion and lend us her insights into the up-and-coming generations preparing to enter the workforce. I didn't know that the next generation is called Generation Alpha. Did anyone know that? Yeah, a few people, okay. All right, well, that was my big takeaway for today. Dr. Anthus was Colorado's Commissioner of Education from 2016 to 2023. She is currently the director of the Forward Initiative at the Public Education and Business Coalition, which strives to improve the education environment by equipping educators and leaders with skills in positive conflict resolution, including curiosity, respect, and bridge building. She is known for fostering collaboration across diverse perspectives and advancing solutions rooted in common ground. Please welcome Dr. Katie Anthus.
Okay, did we lose our keynote? I'm just going to do a fireside chat with myself. Well, while Barbara's coming back to the stage, I was just doing a session with some of you next door this morning, and I really do work on, now that I'm done being Commissioner of Education, I really do work on how do we decrease toxic polarization in our world? How do we disagree better? And I saw so many connections with Barbara's work around expanding your circle. We talked about that. We talked about that across the way. Expanding your circle, pushing back against the labels, listening and finding commonality. So there's so much commonality between our work. And we just wanted to sort of connect those dots for you today in this session. So I'm pleased to be with you, Barbara. Thank you for your wonderful talk today. It's amazing.
Although I have this loud of a voice naturally, so it's not
Yeah.
like I really need my Bobby Brooks, my mother.
Nice.
All right, stand up. Hello, testing. It's on green.
I can pass mine back and forth. Okay. Well,
It's really low.
I know. I had to kind of lean forward because I would be swallowed up.
Oh, look how tall I am. All right.
I know.
Testing.
Okay. So as we just all learned, her work is about bringing people of different generations together, generational inclusion, and serving as a model. That really serves as a model for bridging differences. So can you tell us, in a time where we feel more divided than ever, how can generational inclusion help us bridge some of those divides?
Obviously, by foregoing the myths and the stereotypes that we talked about today, dropping those labels, understanding who we are, and having deeper conversations. I think too often we're siloed on the job because we all have different communication styles. Gen Z, some of Gen Z, see, I'm not going, sometimes the ageist is still in the person. You have to catch yourself. But it may be that some people think Gen Zs just want to communicate in one way. Millennials want to communicate on Slack. We want to do email as Gen Xers and Boomers, or calls, like they said about Rob. So I think when it comes to bringing us together, it's let's have conversations. What a concept, right? What a concept. And figure out, because a lot of you are business owners, from what I understand, figure out if you're having difficulty. I was talking to someone yesterday, and he's having difficulty within his team of communication because, again, they all want, some of them, he says the younger folks don't want to read the emails that are coming from corporate or coming in, and they're only reading it if it's directly told to read it from their bosses versus, you're supposed to just read it if it comes to your inbox. And so I think it's sitting down and figuring out what is the best mode of communication within your team, because I think that's the biggest breakdown is communication, is us just misunderstanding each other.
Yeah, I love that. And I love one of the phrases I used in my discussion over there is be curious, not judgmental. So you can do that too when you're bringing different generations together. Ask questions, be curious about that. And I think that helps us bridge divides too. I love the word you used in your speech, embrace. Yeah. I'm a total email girl. I will just stay on email all day long. I'm going to embrace that, and I'm going to realize that other people may not be as embracing as email as this Gen X girl is.
And you know what's funny? Again, I'm Gen X, and I prefer, my voicemail is full right now. My mom, I'm a caregiver. My mom tried to call me on my birthday, and it's full. I was out partying, okay? Just 2 drinks, that's it. That's all you do when you're 59.
Yeah.
But also, I prefer text. Yeah. I'm not a phone call girl. I never was, even in high school and all the things. Yeah. So see, that's a difference. Yeah. Text me. Unless there's an emergency, and then hopefully I'll answer, and hopefully my voicemail won't be full.
I love that. So you're with a wonderful group of educators and business people, and we're all trying to figure out how this multi-generational, 5 generations are working together. So if someone here, you kind of gave us this hint, but let's just recap it, wants to create a more age-inclusive and collaborative culture in their workplace or classroom tomorrow, what can they do?
Do you all know what ageism starts, by the way, before I answer? Who wants to just throw out a guess? What age are we given messages about ageism and we start sort of having age bias. What age do you think? And if, yeah, what age do you think?
Oh, that's a good one.
It's 3. You're right. You're close, though.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a thing? I don't have kids. Is there a terrible 3? I don't know. I just have a 5-pound dog who's back at the condo. It is 3. I just learned that from an organization, a Colorado organization called Next 50. And they are a nonprofit organization based in Denver, but it's a national organization. I had a conversation with them and learned, and here I am in the industry. I had no clue. You know why? Because we're given messages like, I mean, back in the day, we used to play Old Maid, literally Old Maid. And, you know, or the lady in the shoe, and she's got, you know, and so I think when it comes to having those inside of the schools, don't allow those types of things. Don't do older person day. We didn't do it in my high school or junior high or element. I don't know where that even came from, but we don't do, you know, it's the little things. Right. And it's also showcasing older adults in a different way, because I think we all did think of our teachers regardless as old, you know, because we're that age. And so I think it's breaking down those barriers sooner than later, in a sense.
And maybe asking, I mean, I think about this in my work on polarization, like how do you lean into the positivity of the different age ranges? Like you can say, well, you have a completely different perspective, a fresh perspective on something because you haven't been doing this for 30 years or whatever. Tell us what your perspective is. How do you see it? How do you see it differently?
That was an even better answer.
Oh, no. All of the above.
You know, I think that's exactly it. And it's bringing into conversation age inclusion, sort of what you're saying, earlier inside of the classrooms, but also the internships that when you're having an intern. I have an intern, I had a previous intern who, I like to give this example of intergenerationality. She and I just went to have drinks. We hadn't seen each other in a year or so. She was my intern when she was 25. She's now 35 with a child. Taylor and I met for cocktails for a good kiki with 2 girlfriends. Do you know age never came up? It literally, and we're 24 years apart. It was like nothing was, you know, there really wasn't anything different. Right. So I think it's the classrooms, it's internships, and of course, further on into the workplace. Yeah.
So I'm interjecting a question that we didn't prepare, but I know you can handle it. You are very good at handling things on the fly when that music came on. You're like, all right, it's my breaking news music. But when you hear ageism in a place, like how do you do that in the moment? Like how do you respond? Because I think that's what we all tend to be scared about, like when we're in a place and we hear racism or ageism, or how do we correct it in the moment? Do you have any good phrases for us?
It happened, you know, rarely does it happen to me in person anymore, because even all my friends and everybody. But when it did happen, I guess it just depends. But I do shut it down in a very PC way. That is such a good question. Because there's HR ways that you can answer it. Again, I'm not HR, so I wouldn't know how to answer in certain ways. But I just say, depending on what it is, I say, but why do you think that? What makes you think that so-and-so is too old to start a company? What makes you think that? Just curious. So the minute they start to answer, I say, well, why should age matter then? If it's just starting a company, if anything, they have all that experience behind them, and pattern recognition, and judgment, and critical thinking, and the mistakes, and being called to the boss's office from those mistakes, you know. And so that's such a great question. I think it just depends, because there's so many ways that it shows up silently, and then there's other ways. Someone the other day mentioned they said something about their hair color, and because he's all gray and he's only mid-40s. And he said, yeah, it's from all, you know, the worry of the work or whatever. I go, and I so wanted to shut it down, but he was the client. So, I mean, I didn't want to correct in that moment. It was not the right time. But I did sort of address it inside of the presentation without him knowing. But because you could be gray, I started growing this. I didn't even know it until I started thinking about it. This started coming in my late 20s. I didn't own it until till 52 or so. And even then, by the way, here's ageism.
Yeah.
I was having a birthday dinner with my friends, and I was contemplating, do I keep it or do I not? Half of my girlfriends said, it makes you look your age. It makes you look older. And they know they can be honest with me. And I wasn't entirely pro-aging at that time. And then the other half said, I like it. I think it's sexy. I think it's cool. Sorry, I did use the S word after all. I think it's cool.
That was the S word. I thought the S word was silver. I was like, why is silver a bad word?
Teachers. Obviously, I kept it. Also, what matters to me is what my mom thinks. My mom thinks it's cool too.
Awesome.
But yeah, so that's one of those moments of ageist bias. And
I think teachers and educators are really good at this. This is something you can lean into. Like in that case,
you guys get the questions.
I know.
Can't even imagine.
And you can lean into the positivity of it. Like if someone says, oh gosh, you've been doing this for so long, or something that's kind of implicit like that. You could step in and say, well, I really want to hear what Barbara has to say, because Barbara has been doing this she has so much expertise and experience, and I would really like to hear what she has to say about that. So you can lean into the positivity of the experience.
Yes.
Or, that gentleman who said, I have all this gray hair because of work. You can say, God, you've had the privilege of working for 44 years, and you've gained so much knowledge and experience from that you must have a wealth of knowledge to share with everybody. Right. So kind of leaning into the positive side of it.
Well, and the other thing too is, after J-Lo did the Super Bowl with Shakira, I posted about it inside of my community of second act women, and it's a global community, mostly, of course, about 80%, 70% Coloradans and the rest from all over. And we had a couple of people trolling the comment, which we don't allow inside of our community. We get enough of that in the real world. We don't need, negativity inside of there. And so I had to send private DMs to them and also take the comments out. But, they said, some of the women, because these are women over 40, said, I think they were too old to dress that way. Because remember, they were dressed and remember the video and how the one woman said she looks great, didn't say for her age? Mm-hmm. That's what we have to, when you have examples of Cher and J-Lo and Halle Berry, who, by the way, has a menopause company, and Jane Fonda and all these women who are now showing up on runways with their gray hair. To me, that's more inspirational than ever before. That's showing that we can dress. I almost wore some leather pants today, but I need to wear them tomorrow for photos with my girlfriends, because we're doing a girls' weekend in Breckenridge. But that's another form of you shouldn't be wearing that. Well, why can't I dress with? You'll catch me with a mini skirt at times. These are my assets, or my legs.
That's right. You go. Love it. We have one more question, then we're going to open it up to you all. So be thinking about what you want to ask Barbara. But as we think about the future of work, what opportunities do you see when organizations fully embrace these multi-generations, these 5 generations in working?
Okay.
We saw what was it, 380 billion or something?
Yeah.
That.
There's the 850 billion. Yeah. No, it's okay. When we are embracing it, there's a stronger chance of innovation, as I said, creativity, productivity, and you business owners, it's a win-win because your bottom line goes up. Because suddenly we feel, again, as I said earlier, that we belong, that we truly are one team, and forget about it, the ages. And so when you have a multi-generational workplace, you get diverse thinking. That's why there's innovation and creativity and productivity, because we're all coming with fresh ideas. By the way, you'll never hear me say fresh ideas are coming from Gen Zs. We all have fresh ideas. My brain never stops. I swear to goodness, had I not
believe that.
I wish, I know. I wish I would have been set. How many of you were like constant learners these days? You know, right? Well, of course, you're teaching. What am I thinking? But still, I wish I would have been studying, or as much as I read and want to learn, and all the YouTubers that I pay attention to, and all the things. My grades would have been a lot better at CSU. I can tell you that. But yeah, so you get all of that. You get problem solving and customer insight. Because if you have a shop or a store and/or you have people that are working for you have customers, your customers just may be multi-generational. So you need that thinking inside of your corporation to mirror your customer. How else are you going to grow your bottom line? Right? I mean, your revenue model may just be talking to 4 or 5 different kinds of people. If you are a store owner, hello, you probably have everybody coming through there.
And it's the same for educators, right? That's my job, connect this all to education, right? I mean, we need to be showing that strength in multi-generational learning, teaching, engagement throughout our classrooms. We need to model that early so that we can do it in the workforce later.
Yeah. Is that our time? Is that like the call to?
I know. It's like,
is that music? Oh,
okay.
Well, I thought it was our 90 seconds remaining.
No, I think that's just maintenance.
Well, maintenance, but we will take questions from the audience now. So
for Barbara or Katie.
Yeah, Anna's gonna run with the mic. All right, we got something.
Yay, we
over
have
here.
one.
Over here.
I missed it.
She missed it. Put it, there we go. Thank you. Loud and proud.
As she's walking, also retention goes up.
Yeah.
Because we all feel like we belong. So you got people wanting to be in the workplace.
Hi, I'm Katie.
Hi, Katie.
Woo,
What generation are you?
So many Katies today.
Yeah, good Katies. So my question
do you want to share your
is-
generation?
Gen X.
It's okay. You don't have to.
No, I'm Gen X.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yep.
I did forget to say that at the beginning. You don't have to share your
I'm happy to
Some
share
people
it.
aren't aging out loud like me.
Yeah, I'm happy to share it. So I'm a lifelong learner, so I'm like, with the communication, you've got all these different generations. Do we ever kind of consider human behavior in all of this? Because...
Do we also, say that one more time?
Consider human behavior.
Oh.
So I've been learning a lot about human behavior, and it's like, I'm having a much better time communicating with people of all generations because I'm starting to understand human behavior a little bit more. And so I'm wondering if that's something that you've been considering or you've looked into, or as far as the communication goes, not just the way the generations are laid out, but how they communicate as a human being, no matter what their age is.
Thank you for giving me yet something else to read a book on. Appreciate it, because that's actually a good point. Is I'm seeing human behavior when I'm out and about, and usually before events, I actually like to talk to people beforehand, and then I've got a community of 24,000 women, as I said, across all platforms. I'm a marketer, so I have to give the big number. But I know what the women are thinking inside of this, the 40-plussers. But I personally need to hear more from, and I have a multi-generational group of friends as well. But we do need to have more deeper conversations. That's a great point. So I'm a truth teller, so I'm going to say no, but I need to. I like that.
Well, and I would add a little bit to that too. I mean, we talk about that in terms of conflict, like how does human behavior interact with when we're in conflict or we disagree with each other, and there are some things to think about there. First of all, connecting on a human level, being curious, not judgmental, and then we talk about in conflict as setting some ground rules. So one thing is just to be explicit. Like when I was the head of the state agency, I was working with multi-generations. So I said, how do you prefer to communicate? Do you prefer text? Like if I need to get a hold of you, do you prefer text? Do you prefer a phone call? Do you prefer an email? So sometimes we just make too many assumptions. We don't ask the question, like, how do you want to communicate?
That's all it takes is a question, isn't it? Isn't that fascinating? And boom, you got the answer.
Yeah, and then it helps a lot. We have one down back here. Thank you.
My name is
hair.
Hi, my name is Magda King. I'm 47, and I also chose my hair white, so I guess I'm a Gen X. I was actually
my silver sister.
There you go. I was actually going to ask a question, but you just answered it. However, I wanted to share something with you. in regards to the age diversity. So I work for the Antlers at Vail, where you are staying, and we embraced very much the age diversity. And it has been amazing. We purposefully, we have 80-year-old people working with us, with people that are 25, 23, with everything in between. And one of the things that I have noticed is that there is a lot of respect and maybe fear as to how to address to each other without offending each other. Because when we bring someone in, we say, okay, this is going to be, we have a lot of white hair and then a lot of super younger with, TY is an example, or LOL, or, those acronyms where my older or, more mature employees say, well, what does this mean? So we have made actually fun experiences out of it, how to communicate, how to refer, for example, an older person may forget something. So how can we address that when a younger person didn't think of something that another person may think? So every Thursday, we actually have a powwow where we put on the table everything that we find from each other. So what you're saying, I think, is great. And there is a blog about it, if you want to check it at the Antlers, about the age diversity and how we work on that. Cool. So thank you.
That's wonderful. Thank you for that. I love that.
Magda is our local resident.
Y'all can share.
She's our resident unicorn. So, any other questions?
Our Gen Y.
No, I'm Gen X.
Oh, Gen X, that's right.
Proudly Gen X. Like several people in here, I teach middle school. And so that's Gen Alpha. Is that Gen Alpha? Or middle school is Gen Alpha?
Is middle schoolers Gen Alpha? Like what's the age range?
Or they younger?
Oh, you know what? Their age, the years that they were born, it was on my thing, I believe is 2013. 12 to 2025. So if they were born, then they're Gen Alpha.
So thinking about communication.
Oh, yeah, so they are. Yeah, boom.
They have their completely own way of communicating. And if you're a middle school teacher, we have to learn a totally new language. They are the kings and queens of meme and TikTok lingo. So I've learned, like, I have to kind of be on top of all of that language, like 6, 7, and I'm an unk, and all of that stuff to even understand what they're saying and kind of build that relationship. But I was just wondering what you all thought about this whole new world of language. Like, I actually have to do research, like, to stay on top of it and know what they're saying. So I was just curious what you thought about this whole new world that they're bringing into it of communication.
Ooh, that's a good one for you, because I always also wonder about AI, which I'm a super user of. Mine is called Chloe. My bot is called Chloe.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, I think that's for you.
Well, thanks a lot. No, I'm just kidding. No, first of all, thank you for being a middle school teacher. I always say that.
Oh, yes, I agree. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
As someone who comes from a full military family, that is the same. Thank you for your service.
As commissioner of education, I was like, middle school people are an amazing group of people. So love you.
I watch Abbott Elementary, so I'm getting a taste of what you guys go through.
But I would say you're doing it, right? I mean, the thing for me is lean into the positivity of difference, right? Lean into the positivity of diversity in all its forms. So you say, that's so cool that you speak like that. I have no idea what you're talking about. Teach me. So ask the middle schoolers to teach you, which you're doing, and then you're looking. I'm doing that too, not even with middle schoolers, but with all the LOL and things. People text me, I'm like, I do not know what that means. I was like, so I have to Google it. What does that mean? Oh, it means catch you later or whatever. So to me, it's leaning in a positive way to diversity and showing people that diversity is strength, and whether it's diversity in how they're communicating with you, whether it's diversity in their age, whether it's diversity in where they come from or the religion that they come from, lean into that in a positive way and be curious about it. And when you're curious, it infects people in a positive way. You know, because you say, oh, you care about me. You're asking about me. You're asking about how I communicate. And so that's...
I think with curiosity also comes empathy and respect for one another and all those things. Yes, and so thank you for that. You did say something. I wish I had my pen to write it down. But
I think it sounds like a business opportunity, and I call dibs. So I think we have time for one more question. Is there anybody on this side of the room?
Okay, anybody over here?
Right up here.
Oh, we got one.
So I was earlier this week at a climate summit, and one of the features was some of the students from Montana who sued their state and won at the Supreme Court because the state constitution guarantees the right to a clean and healthy environment. The Supreme Court said, we agree, the government is not providing that to you. So amazing kids. One of the things that they said, because relative to this amazing thing, was that they are kids, and they did this. And one of the insights was, please don't tell us. We're so excited that you all are stepping up for this generation. There's two problems with that. That's a ton of pressure. We're doing this just because we think this is the right thing. All of a sudden you're saying we're the salvation. And the other is, but we need you guys. Like, what's all this? Like, I'm 17. What are you guys doing? So rather than thinking, what would I say instead? Because I've got like, that's so impressive because they're young. Instead of that, in your talk, what I'm thinking is, I need to figure out a new mindset for all those situations. How should I be thinking so that I'm recognizing what they need and still recognizing my need to be excited about it and tell people?
I mean, I can start. The first thing that
Way to go for those kids, by the way. But such a good point, the pressure that we put even... sorry, I just thought of something, because even as you're saying that, I had to write down, the pressure that we put on them, that is a lot for us to say, the pressure's on you to vote or to do this or to do that or, pull us out, whatever it may be. That is pressure on them, isn't it? I never thought about that before. Huh. And they already have a lot going on with social media and all the other things and mental health, and they don't need any more.
Yeah. And so I'm a big both and person.
A big what?
Both and. So it's both that you can encourage them for being young and engaged and energetic and doing this amazing thing that is amazing even if you're an adult. And, encouraging other generations and others, saying you are modeling, unfortunately or not, for all of the generations that need to be doing similar things like this. So I don't feel like I don't know. I feel like you should still honor them for being young and engaging, because they're modeling for other young people too. And so I think you can still encourage that, and whether it's seen as pressure or excitement or whatever, but it's also saying, you're right, all of this doesn't fall on your shoulders and we all need to step up for it. That's not a perfect answer, but we sort of all need to be putting pressure on all of the generations to step up in different ways.
Yeah.
I think there is no perfect answer, and I think that's why we're having this discussion today, is we need to talk about it. It needs to stop being the elephant in the room and start being a normal conversation that we have. So I want to say thank you so much to Barbara and to Katie. Give them one more round of applause.
So my former student, I was his senior project advisor in high school. And his project was titled, I think I have this right, The American Character. And the idea was to ask, what does it mean to be an American? And of course, this was a step that he probably wasn't even defining at that point in his life, but it surely was the first step on the road where he was headed. What does it mean to be an American? What does it mean to flourish as a human being, as I just said? And what does it mean to take care of a society so that you can flourish? He then took that senior project from high school and took it to undergraduate, and that became his thesis in undergraduate, where he explored more deeply, what does liberty really mean? What does it, the word he uses, what does it lack? Yes? And what does it add to this meaning of being a citizen of a democracy? So with that introduction, I will bring my former student to the stage, and he is the current mayor of Denver, and his name is Michael Johnston.
Very safe. Hello, great to see you all. Thank you so much for having me, Bando, and I feel like it was preordained that my table number was my high school jersey number, so I appreciate whoever sorted that out, that I am still wearing the same number. Thank you all so much for being here. I'm really delighted to join you. I'm going to try to give a concise, maybe 15-minute talk about what I think are the principles of ethical leadership in this moment in American life, and a couple of stories about ways that they've been real for me. And I want to talk about the intersection of both the ways in which my experience of service as a young person changed my thinking about those principles, and the way that I believe shoulder to shoulder is changing the young people in this room's feelings about what service means to you and what you're called to do. And then how those lessons, for me, have come to play in the work that I do now, trying to run a city in this day and age. And so, to my mind, there are three real principles I want to share with you today. One is the idea that, first of all, you have to get close to the problem. And you have to get close enough to the problem that you understand not the policy, but that you understand the people. And I'll talk about that for a minute. The second one in my mind is that you have to be able to then believe that you can do really hard things. And you have to build the muscle memory to prove to yourself that you can do that. And the third is you have to then learn to fall. I'm going to talk about that a little bit as we go, and I'll tell you a couple of stories along the way. For me, it started with, if you care deeply about something, how do you get close enough to the problem to really understand it? And so I was a college senior. I was working, I was both a student athlete, but I also spent a lot of time working in public housing projects behind my dorm with mostly middle school kids. And I wanted to be engaged in thinking about how do you solve the problem of poverty in this country, of inequality in this country, and where does one go to try to change the world on that? And my belief was to learn that you don't go to a think tank and write a very compelling white paper on the problems of inequality in this country. For me, you go to the poorest county in America. I went to Greenville, Mississippi, which was then the poorest county in the country, highest rate of teen pregnancy, lowest rate of high school performance. And I took a job as a high school English teacher, teaching 9th grade English. With the mission of then thinking about how can I convince myself I can do hard things here? How can I walk into a classroom full of 9th grade students who are reading at the 3rd grade level and teach them Shakespeare? And believe that at the end of the year, I'll be able to see that they not just can understand that Shakespeare, but they can pass whatever statewide test is going to be put in front of them to show they're literate and numerate and ready for the world. For me, how do you test yourself to do hard things? How do you prove that hard things are possible? Was after I left that job, went back to grad school and decided I wanted to be a school principal, came home to Denver. I ran a school in a juvenile prison for a couple of years. Then I took over a school in North Denver that had a 50% dropout rate. And our theory was, all right, is it possible to deliver something different than 50% of the kids in this 9th grade class never graduating from high school? So I put all those kids in a circle out on the football field on the first day and said, if we believed the data, we would take this half of the circle and send you home. So we'd say the data says you'll never graduate from high school anyways. Our commitment instead was to say, we believe that you are all college material and you're all capable of doing whatever you dream. So our commitment is if you stay with us, we'll stay with you, and we'll make this the first high school in the state's history where not only will 100% of you graduate from high school, but 100% of you will get admitted to 4-year colleges. That was the promise when I was in school that Mr. Mandoni made to me. It's the promise I should make to whatever student sat in the classroom in front of me. So a team of amazing teachers. We proceeded to go through 3 incredibly hard years of work and started a ritual to expect every single student to both make a commitment that they would apply to college and get admitted. And at the end of senior year, that group of graduating seniors became, in fact, the first graduating class in Colorado history where 100% of those kids in a public high school both graduated from a 4-year high school and got admitted to a 4-year college in a moment that they didn't believe was possible. And for us, it was about every day that we failed, continuing to convince ourselves that we could do hard things. And this is where it comes to my third topic. Kaya, I'm thinking of you on this. I'm thinking about, when you think about what makes great ski racers, what makes great ski racers is they know how to fall. Like, one of the first things you do when you learn to ski is you learn to fall. And for me, this is one of the most fundamental requirements of ethical leadership. I remember the first time you decide to jump off the chair 4 cliffs, which I wouldn't recommend, but if you did, the way you do that the first time is you convince yourself how to do it and fall safely. And I say learning to fall because it is not learning to fail. Because actually failing is giving up on succeeding. Falling is actually practicing to succeed. It is whenever you fall, you know what it means to hit the ground. You know what it means to bounce back up. You know where your feet were sure, where they were unsure. And critical to this process, if you're going to lead on hard things, is learning to fall. I can tell you, my son skateboards. I cannot skateboard at all. It terrifies me. Do you know why? Because I do not know how to fall on a skateboard. My fear is every time I stand on it, I'm going to break my head open. And so I just don't stand on it. For a lot of us, there are things like skateboarding we just don't touch because we're afraid to fall. The things we are transformationally good at are the things where we've learned to fall and use those lessons to learn to get better. And so for me, that was when I left being a high school principal and I ran for the state senate. I did that because I had a group of high school kids at my high school who got admitted to those 4-year colleges. We were so excited for that. And I found out many of those students were undocumented immigrants, which meant in Colorado, they could not go to University of Colorado or CSU unless they paid out-of-state tuition. So they would be paying $40,000 a year of tuition when their classmate next to them was paying $5,000. And so I thought I should just run for the state senate. We should fix that. And I ran for the state senate and ran that bill and discovered that bill had failed 11 years before me. And I ran it the first year and I failed again. I was like, okay, let's learn that, what we do from here. But I was close enough to the kids I wasn't going to walk away. I knew the problem. I believed we could do hard things. And the challenge was there had never been a Republican vote in the state senate to vote for it. So I started traveling the state and going to the most conservative parts of Colorado and finding Republican state legislators who I knew, folks who'd been up here in this town at my dad's funeral across the street because we had that kind of fellowship. And I found one of them who was a senator in a very small rural community in eastern Colorado who coached Little League baseball. I coached flag football at the time, so we started talking about that. I said, wait a sec. You coach Little League baseball in a tiny farming and ranching community on the eastern plains of Colorado. I said, yeah, I've been doing it for 10 years. I bet you anything you have kids on your baseball team that are undocumented. He said, no, I know every kid on my team. And I said, just make me one promise. Go back to your baseball team this Saturday and just talk to your kids on your team. And then you come back on Monday and you do whatever your conscience tells you. He says, okay. So Monday morning, I'm sitting at my desk on the Senate floor, and he walks up and stands next to me for a minute and doesn't say anything, which is very unlike him. And after a long pause, he says, so, my shortstop's undocumented. He's the hardest working kid on my team. He's been my son's best friend since first grade. He said, I tell that kid if he works hard, he can have whatever he wants. How can I tell him he can't have a college degree if he wants it? He said, call the bill up for a vote today. And I did. And he became the first Republican in Colorado history who voted for the bill, which meant it passed, which meant I got to stand by my old 6th grade students who were now seniors in high school for the first time, knowing they could apply to college and go anywhere they wanted. But why did that work? Because I wasn't afraid of falling. I wasn't afraid of losing. I wasn't afraid of getting back up again, because if you walk away, that's the only way you make sure you don't succeed. So let me close with one story about my current life. You say, okay, so that's interesting, but now politics is much harder. Things are much more complicated. There are problems that are bigger than that. And so let's take one. When I became mayor 2 years ago, the hardest problem in our city was homelessness. Denver at that point had the third worst homeless problem in the country. We had about 2,000 people living on the streets. We had 1,000 tents in downtown. We had more people that had died outside on the streets of the city of Denver in 2023 than any year in Denver history. World-class city in 2023, people freezing to death on the city streets. And so my belief was if we were going to solve this problem, I had to get closer to the problem. So I started, before I even became mayor, I decided, all right, what's not working? So I went out for a night, just put on jeans and a t-shirt and a sweatshirt and a backpack and just went out and spent the night on the streets of Denver, talking to people that were homeless, staying in a shelter with the rest of the folks that were homeless, listening to their stories, understanding what they were facing, seeing how scary those places were, seeing the fight that broke out in the middle of the night where I was sleeping, or the guy next to me that was overdosing on drugs while you're sleeping there. And I thought, wow, this would not be a place I would want to stay. If I had a choice, I would take the streets over this. And then I went out, and each day I would go and sit and visit folks that were living in encampments. Say, tell me where you came from. Tell me what you're looking for. Tell me what you need. One day I walked into one of the encampments in Denver to start talking to someone, and as I was talking to someone, Chase, who works with me, who's not here today, but he's probably 29, grew up in Denver, went to high school. He said, John. Walked over to the guy sitting in the homeless encampment.
Your homeless shelters, people are dying every day. You personally kicked me out of all of it. I thought I won't talk at all if you don't bring home.
I'd be happy to talk about it.
In every hotel, you banned me from every hotel. With my God, you just kicked me out. You know exactly who I am. You know nothing about ethics. You are the most corrupt mayor in this country.
I'd be happy to talk to you about it.
A homeless guy who spoke truth to power. Because I went to city council. Your homeless program, people are dying every day.
I don't know who you are, sir, but I'd be happy to talk to you. I'd be happy to talk to you.
I live in Denver. I have seen your work, and I appreciate everything you do.
I appreciate that. I'd be happy to talk to you, sir, if you want to stay afterwards. I'd never mind having a hard conversation. So if you want to stay outside, I'll be happy to meet afterwards. I will be outside when this is done if you want to chat. Happy to come chat. Great. This is actually good real-time example of it turns out doing hard things are never going to be easy, and that's okay. It actually means that you have to stand with people through hard conversations, and this is actually part of that. And I'll tell you, the other version of this conversation, so that was the start, get close to the problem. The second one was we had to believe we could do hard things. To do that, what we knew was if we had about 1,500 people on the streets, we had to bring on housing units that we could move people into. And that meant bringing on enough units that we could move people off the streets into housing. The last mayor had spent about 3 years trying to open housing units, and they opened one tiny home village for 40 units. It took 3 years. They got sued. It was hotly contested. There were spirited town halls like this one with a bunch of people yelling about not opening the site. And we said, for us to solve the scale of this problem, we need to open 1,000 units. And we're going to have to open 1,000 units in 6 months. So we set a plan. We would bring 1,000 people off the street in 6 months. To do that, we had to go to communities across the city and convince them to open 8 different homeless housing shelters in their neighborhood. I did 60 town halls all across the city to talk to folks in those rooms about this. And as you can imagine, when you come to a neighborhood and say, we want to open a homeless shelter in your neighborhood, the feedback was strong. The resistance was serious. We started with events at 40, 50 people. By the time I got to the 20th or 30th town hall, I would show up at these events, there'd be 1,000, 1,400 people. And when I showed up, I remember showing up to one and my security detail said, we got a call ahead from the organizers. They're going to suggest you enter through the back door because there are a lot of protesters out front and a lot of angry people. I said, great, let's go to the front door. And I'll stand at the front door and I'll shake the hand of every single person that comes in the door. Some of them won't shake my hand, some of them won't speak to me, some of them will curse at me. But what you will do is have a one-on-one conversation about what's possible. And we'll stay and hear you out about your concerns and your challenges. And at the end, when that's over, we'll keep pushing forward. Because what they expected is we would show up, someone would yell in the back of the room, and I would say, okay, in that case, sorry, we won't open the shelter in your neighborhood because I don't want you to be upset or to be afraid. If there are ideas you have to make our plan better, I'll hear them out. If you're afraid of the worst case scenario, my job is to make sure we can deliver outcomes because I'm close enough to the problem that I know what happens if we do nothing, which is folks keep freezing to death in the streets at night. And so in 6 months, we opened 8 sites. We brought on 1,000 units of housing. No city had ever brought 1,000 people off the streets in 6 months before. And 30 days before we were set to open the last site, we had a meeting because we were building a tiny home village, one of the villages with 50 units. And we found out 30 days before it opened, someone called me and said, it turns out the team that's been working for 5 months on building these tiny homes, it turns out they didn't realize that it snows in Denver. So these homes are not rated for snow. So there's no way this can get built, and definitely not built in 30 days. And I said, we are like water. We are always going to find our way downhill. It's like, there's a way to figure this out. So I have a picture in my office of the meeting. It's just a picture of 20 people on a Zoom. That 20 people on the Zoom call was the manufacturer of the homes. It was the head of architecture for the city, the head of planning, the head of zoning, the head of construction, the head of permitting, and the head of site preparation who said, we need to, in this meeting, design a new home, figure out how to source the supplies for it, figure out how to permit it, figure out how to wire it, figure out how to build the platforms for it, and figure out how to design it in 30 days. That hour-long meeting was done in 56 minutes, and 28 days later, they opened 50 units on that site. Because the belief was we can do hard things. And so I'll close. And so that was the, how do you both learn to fall in those moments and stay at it, right? Because those hard things will never be easy. And so I'll end with this one, which is an even harder part of the story. Then we opened those sites. They were successful. We got 1,000 people off the street. We closed all the large encampments in downtown. And we had a deep debate before we opened our first hotel about what we should do for security protections in the hotels. Some people said you need to have metal detectors. You need to have around-the-clock officers. You need to have random room searches. That's important. And the advocates very deeply said, no, 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 you can't do that. You wouldn't do that in a high school. You wouldn't do that in a hotel where you stay. If we're going to treat these people like thoughtful, reasonable human beings, we have to build an ecosystem that does that. We went back and forth, and our team was deeply divided. And I made the decision that we would not do metal detectors, and we would not do random room searches. We would try to build a sense of rapport and respect in those sites that kept people safe. And we opened 8 of them. 7 of them did very well. A month later, we had a guy in one of the sites who was dealing drugs, who had a gun, and shot and killed 2 people. The news came to me that night, and they said, isn't this the sign that you should shut this place down? Because clearly these places are not safe, and this is not working. I said, no, we absolutely will not shut them down. But I also said, we made a mistake, and our first obligation has to be safety. And so until we can get to that stage, we'll reset how we run these places. So we did add metal detectors. We do add safety around the clock. We do have cameras. We do room searches. We do not allow any contraband of any sort, and we have not had a violent incident in those sites since then. But I want you to be clear, that's a big fall, right? Those are real decisions with very hard consequences. And I can't change them. I can't fix them. I can own them. I can learn from them, and I can refuse to walk away from them. And so we transformed how we run those sites. We're now 18 months later. It's not been easy. This gentleman is probably upset because one of the things we've done is we have raised expectations about what we expect of you if you are in our site. If you are living in one of our sites, we expect you to come every week to meet with the case manager. We expect you to apply for jobs. We expect you to get treatment if you need it for addiction or for mental health. We expect you to treat other guests in this location with dignity. And if you don't, you can't stay. Because we have 300 other people in this site to also protect. It's the old rule of being a school principal. No one gets to bully anyone else on my watch, right? That was Mr. Abusey and Mr. Mandoni's deep belief, is no one gets to make someone else feel small. And so we've done that. We've gotten much better outcomes as a result. I'll close with this. When we started this, our big goal was to bring 1,000 people indoors in 6 months. But in the back of my head, with our team, the goal was different. The city of Houston at that point had been the most successful city in history at reducing street homelessness. They had, over 12 years, dropped their homeless population by almost 40%. That was the gold standard. No one had ever done that before. Our goal was, could we surpass Houston? Now, last month, the federal government does a count every city in the country to look at how they've done on homelessness. As of last month's count, the city of Denver has dropped street homelessness in 18 months by 50%, which is more than any city in American history. So a couple things are important there. We do not have a single large encampment left anywhere in the city. We are the largest American city ever to end street homelessness for veterans. If you risked your life for this country, you will never have to risk your life sleeping on the streets of our city. That is a promise. And what that means now is, with the goal that we thought we could end street homelessness in the first 4 years, people thought was a miracle or a crazy idea, we are less than halfway through the first 4 years, and we are more than halfway to the goal that you could actually make street homelessness history. And so I share that with you because those stories are not easy. They're not pretty. They don't look like the montage on the movies where Rocky is training and then all of a sudden he wins at the end. They have moments of falling over and over. But if you stay close to the problem, if you believe that you can do big things and you set incredibly ambitious goals and you're not afraid to fall, you will find your ability to come back over and over to those moments. And to build a team that believes in those things helps you convince them and helps you convince yourself that you can do impossible things. That is our very best chance to change the world, and you are our very best force to do that. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, I'm not always sure, when I introduce and I say something about the relationship between ethical leadership and moral courage, but you all just witnessed it. And to give it a little bit of texture, takes a lot of courage to be humble in a situation like that. To listen to somebody and say, hey, let's talk. And Mike, thanks for that lesson.